Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us at our call board meeting of Thursday, May the 5th. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and I need to get an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Guthrie. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Mitchum. Any discussion? All in favor? 7-0. And next on the agenda is public comments on agenda items. I don't have any public comments, so we're going to move right into our proposed FY23 general fund operating budget, and I'm going to turn it over to our budget committee chairman, Mr. Mitchum.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes. Tina, guess what?
What?
Your turn.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman Hughes, members of the board, and Mr. Pye. Tonight will be our final presentation here in this building, we hope, for our FY23 budget. Tonight, if it's your pleasure to vote on this, will be our presentation to County Council, and this will be our adopted budget for next year. Unless, of course, something else happens at the state level and they come back and give us a lot more money, we can do an amendment and we can make some additional adjustments. You don't think that's going to happen, Mr. Pye? Okay. Well, y'all have heard this a couple of times before, so I don't know how in-depth you would like me to go. These are the same slides. I have just one good change. So if y'all are in agreement, we'll talk with County Council about our state funding change that came from, that started with Governor McMaster's proposal and how it's no longer the base student costs, it's aid to classrooms program, and what those, there's a small change in this presentation right now versus the last one, which is a good one. And what the parameters were that came out of the governor's budget and how it moved through the House Ways and Means, then it went to the House, then it went to the Senate Finance Committee, then to the Senate, and where we stand right now. And I did look back at the budget document as far as the ratio of student teachers, and just what y'all were saying, it's not just the students in the teacher classroom, it's also that number of students for librarians and for guidance counselors. It's for all of those folks put together. It's still a little mystery to me on how they came up with the 11.7 and the 10.5. We'll take it because it was helpful for us. These are the funds that they combined together, provides flexibility. Some of the student weightings were adjusted. Unfortunately, when the governor's proposal came out, we had a decrease of $2 million, but then as it went through the next phase, it was a positive $2 million coming out of House Ways and Means. Senate Finance, the subcommittee gave us an additional $1.9 million because the calculations changed with the teacher cost and the student-teacher ratio, and one of the bigger changes was that the minimum teacher salary scale would be to $38,000 versus the $40,000 that came out of the House. Our student totals for our district, we have come back some from the COVID year of FY21 up to 24,674, where we were only at 24,184, but the year before we were at 25,298. So we're coming back, but we haven't quite gotten there yet. This is our millage cap information, Mr. Farnsworth, that you had asked us to put back in here. I'm so glad you did. So our millage rate increase limitation that came from the South Carolina Revenue and Fiscal Affairs Office when they calculated the CPI and population factor, we were allowed to go up by 5.87%. The total of our mills, that would give us a total of 10.78 additional mills that we could ask for from County Council, which would be $3.6 million. We also have a look back mills. We would be able to give our folks just some different scenarios that we had calculated. A 1% COLA increase would be about $1.7 million. 2% COLA for everyone would be double that of the 3.7, 3.5. And then the 3% COLA, I'm sorry, I don't have that form right here, would be the $5.3 million. Or another possibility, if we wanted to increase the teacher and admin scales by another $1,000, on top of the $1,000 that's already in our budget now, would be $2.6 million.
Why I mentioned that today, the superintendent's meeting, they had us break into groups to talk about what different districts were doing, and nobody was lower than us. And I mean, even Colleton, what they're doing to give their teachers a whopping raise. We're going to really, it's going to kill us on, I think, the 8 or 10 people that were in my group. I mean, Greenville, all of them are pretty, and they're all tight, just like we are, same kind of problems, but they were still looking at that 4,000 rule the governor started up with, or whomever, and that was on the table, but people were saying the problems still exist about no matter how you do it. Some districts can afford it and some can't afford it. And we don't want to have to pay for something when ours is close to the 4,000 up that they want to be to get teachers at 40, starting salary at 40. However, we got away from that. There were no COLAs, incentives, all these things, and every one of them were throwing out all kinds of things that they were doing. So, and I asked, most of them don't go to county council, and their thing is that they have to raise the millage. Berkeley County is not doing a whole lot more than us, a little bit more, but not a whole lot more, but they want to do more, and he said they need to do a millage increase, but see, they have the power to do that. We
Right.
don't.
So does
And
Charleston,
So
right.
they're questioning it, but they're being tight too, because we all know the people that have to pay for that are the small, the owners, the
In our
business
district,
owners.
it's basically the small business owners,
to keep having to foot the bill, and they've just gone through this pandemic too, where many of them have really suffered. So I understand the political side of it. It's really a no-win situation, but we talk about all kinds of things. Nurses, there's going to be that supplement of 3,000. I think they're going to do it 2 years in a row. But now is it not going to be recurring from then on, or is it going to always be 3,000 higher?
it was a
Just one
grant
time.
for a retention bonus.
But they'll give them 2 years worth, so I think is what I'm hearing.
I only saw 1 year for the grant that we just applied for. It was for our nurses for 1 year to get a $3,000 sign-on bonus for the next year.
That was an issue.
But they wouldn't
again.
receive it until the fall and then later in the winter.
As much as they do that, it's wonderful. How is that any different when you talk to a bus driver, a classroom teacher, a secretary, all others? Everybody feels they did their part, and many people have sacrificed and done lots of stuff. So it goes back to that fairness rule. Same thing, treating certified and classified the same. Everybody gets something now. It might be on a different ratio, not like the incentive money where you give teachers $1,500 and somebody maybe $500. Not that bold of a thing, but maybe everybody gets 2%. So 2% of my secretary's salary is going to be different than 2% of your director's salary.
Yes, sir.
Or whatever. So I wanted to throw that out. That's the conversation behind it. But the only way for us to compete would be to actually ask for that, and there's never going to be a good time. And the chance of it passing, I would say, is slim to zero. But slim to zero would be my guess, because of what I just told you, the pressure people are under. But then, are we remiss that we don't ask for it, though? Or do we put that as at the end of the presentation, it's balanced, and however, we would really like to join our neighbors and other people around the state and be competitive to keep our teachers and bus drivers and all, and we would like to do this across the board, 2%, whatever it is, and that would be X number of mills. And all they can say is no.
If y'all would like me to add that into the budget on,
But I think we have to present the balanced budget.
Presentation.
We've done what we're supposed to do. We just wish we could get more, and the only way we can get it is to raise the millage, and we understand all the political side and the pieces, the pressure you're under, but I don't want anybody out there watching it to feel that we didn't go to bat for them. You know, we don't have to threaten people and put them on the guilt trip like I've done in the past. That's not what I want to do. I just think it needs to be. It's a rough time, and we're getting ready to lose lots of people. We're trying to keep up, but now that contracts are about due back in, we're really seeing more of an exodus now, and I'm really concerned.
So do we have, in years past, we have had a prioritized list. Do we have anything like that this year?
I do have items currently not included as one of the slides,
Okay, all right, then I'll just sit here and be quiet until you get to that slide. Thank you.
but I don't have that included, so when we get there, y'all can tell me what I should put in there. So
Okay.
we'll know. Okay.
Perfect, thank
So
you.
this is where
I'm
we are.
sorry
with-
I interrupted.
No, that was perfect. That is good. We needed to talk about that so we would know what, this is our presentation to county council, so it's perfect. And so this is how we came up with the value, because the value of an operating mill is $336,588, and that's, when you calculate that times the number of mills shown there, that's where we came up with the 6 million. It's the total of the 10.78 mills and the 7.33 mills of the look back. So that's 18 mills. I think so.
Ask, when was the last time that we received, I can't remember, millage increase?
I think we're in our third year of when we received 10 additional mills. We went from 173 to 183 when our teachers got basically a 6% increase.
Okay.
Right, before COVID.
I would say at least 5. We can look that up, but that we asked for a millage increase.
Before that, it was 2 years prior to that,
So,
in 16, 17.
and then prior to that, do you have that?
Prior to that, we had gotten a 1.3 mil increase in 2014.
1.3.
So it wasn't significant, right?
Well, and you're talking to other CFOs across the state that have to go to county. Are any of them asking for millage increases this year?
Well, when Mr. Pye was on the superintendent's call and I was sitting in with him, Beaufort said that they were going to go and ask for a millage increase.
Okay.
Charleston and Berkeley don't have to go to their counties.
Yeah.
Greenville doesn't have to go.
So Colleton and,
I don't know that Colleton has to go.
you said that,
He did.
did you say Colleton?
He said that she was going to,
She is determined to reevaluate everything in her district, and
I
she's
believe
found a
it.
way that there's she has a lot of staff, and the shortage is not affecting her because she's got a hiring freeze. They're not hiring anybody in Colleton now for next year. She thinks that could last up to 2 years, and that money is going to be reverted to the reoccurring cost of doing a step raise and raising the whole thing by so many thousand for a box. And it was up there.
I don't know that she indicated they were going to ask for an increase, but she was
She
going to
didn't
increase.
say how
her-
she thought she could handle it on her own.
Sir.
I don't think so.
I'm not sure.
Colleton, I don't think so. It's just everybody was,
I
it
have
was
the
almost
list,
like,
but
they're bragging about how they're going to get all this. She said her goal was to never have to worry about any of her people leaving. She looked at all of us and said, today, I'm going to be competitive with all of you. And she will be. And I like that attitude, and, I'm sure employees do too. So, but we're not in the boat to be able to do that.
So the next slide is talking about the fiscal impact of Act 388 when it was first implemented in FY 27 or 27-28. 2007, 2008, pardon me. We received dollar for dollar what we had as if it had been calculated from our old method of getting the property taxes from homeowners versus the penny sales tax. The state held us harmless, and so they paid us dollar for dollar. The next year, however, the old method of tax collections versus the penny sales tax, there was a shortfall of 2.7 million just the very next year. And it has continued to grow and grow and grow since then. So ever since that implementation, we've had a shortfall of $114 million in property tax collections from homeowners versus the penny sales tax. The other item for tax abatements, we don't receive our full taxes on some businesses. The county is able to enter into fee in lieu of tax program with these businesses for reduced taxes, and so on average since the year 2017, it's been average of $5.8 million that we don't receive. I mean, it's grown since then, and I'm not sure of what the dollars were before then. There was a GASB pronouncement that came out that required us to start showing that information in our financial statements with our audit, so that's that number started being captured in our financial statements since then. Another favorite topic is our fund balance of our general fund. Where we were at the end of 21, we are above the 15%. However, there was a proviso that has been included in the budget, so in the state budget, so that that cap is suspended, so we'll be okay to go above that amount for this year again. We'd love to get rid of that cap. It's going to show them about our ESSER $1 and our beginning allocation from the very first part of COVID, when the state gave us money to start bringing back our teachers and our staff so they could be safe, and the students, and for iPads so that we could teach these students remotely. So that was what our first pot of money was for. Then they sent us ESSER $2. Our big emphasis was on air quality. We bought a lot of ionization units, and then summer remediation. So that summer we started with very enhanced summer programs. We were able to hire some math coaches, permanent subs, payment for extra class coverage, and those are temporary positions. When we hired those folks, they knew that it was for addressing learning loss. We feel certain that with attrition, with people retiring and moving away, that we'll be able to hire those teachers even after this funding source.
Well, can I ask another question? Since that money is going away, would that be a justifiable reason to ask for an increase in millage?
For next year, or for when the funds are done? Because we have this money through September of 23. And then we also have, I'll scoot to the next page, we have ESSER $3 to continue to address the learning loss.
So it would be the next budget we would try to do that.
For FY 25, I think. 24, 25.
Okay.
Mr. Pye, the money that we still have left over on those ESSER funds, will county council ask what we're going to spend that on? So they'll say you've got that money, they'll say you don't need any?
Well, I'd be surprised if they didn't, because every politician is doing that today. We heard from Molly Spearman in the superintendent's meeting. She was there, and as well as her staff members, and we were told about some of the goings on that's been being debated with the Senate and the House and their confusion. And it was brought up about ESSER money, but more importantly, they brought up fund balances for our too large in some districts, because people don't understand the purpose of the fund balance, and they don't understand fund balances of other organizations much smaller than us, much smaller budgets, are much greater. And so they just don't understand that. And of course, I made it clear to everyone, we're the only two school districts we're capped. Dr. Wright was sitting by me there, so we want to make sure people understood we're capped at 15. And that's ridiculous for the school district this size.
Absolutely.
But
Ms. Crosby, if they do ask us about that, these plans have been vetted through y'all. We came up with a plan at the executive level, and we reached out to principals and teachers and parents. Remember, we had the public input meetings. So before we ever submitted our ESSER 3 plan to the state for this $40.5 million, it has been discussed a lot. So we do have, we didn't have to go through county council for that.
I know what I was saying, though, because of us, we're going to give an itemized list of why we want the $3 million from them, right? And I'm just wondering if they're going to say, oh, y'all got all this extra money, what are you going to do with it? So do we need to itemize what we're going to do with this money that we still have left over?
well, we have the ESSER plan. It's on the website, but
Absolutely.
it's very clear we cannot use that for salaries.
Okay, well, I'm just.
And
I was
because
just
of
wondering
that,
if they
that's
would-
our issue. 87% of our money goes to benefits and salaries. So, and this money is not allowed to be used for that. It has to be tied to COVID. Now, if we want to pay the nurses to supplement, and like we did some of the other things, as long as it's that kind of thing and it's COVID related, we can make that work. But just say you're a good worker and I'm going to give you a $5,000 raise, no. 'Cause
Or to increase teacher salaries.
it
That's
can't be
not the intent.
recurring either. It can't be recurring.
Absolutely right. That's right. You know what you're talking about, Mr. Pye. I think you should give
I
a
know you trained me
presentation.
well. You and Allison won't let me spend any money. That's the problem.
So here's the pie chart that shows in picture form what I'm about to show you in all of the dollars, the numbers, where most of our money comes from. That orange section is from this new aid to classrooms bucket. It's 52%. If you go around to the right, that's our local taxes, which is the next biggest portion, and that's 26%, which has just come up to be at the 75-25 that the state has always wanted us to be before 70-30. So our total other state revenues in lieu of taxes, the total of the state revenues is still at 72%, almost 73%. Our expenditures by categories, our instruction is 61%, instructional support 9%, and school management 8%. Those are the folks that are directly helping with the educating of the students, just one-on-one, and we're over 78% there. And then we have our support staff above that. And as Mr. Pye just said, he's seen this picture. Salaries and benefits is 87% of our budget. So really, we wouldn't be able to do much with those ESSER dollars across the board for everybody in salaries and benefits, and it's temporary money. So the one item that has changed on this slide from the last time is I was able to get in touch with the staff at the county. So our local property tax assessments increased. They didn't increase millage. This is just for assessments and additional tax dollars. Their estimate, they recalculated from their preliminary that they sent us before. It is now at $664,884, which is an additional $558,000. So that money flowing down gave us total state and local revenues of an additional $11,725,150. And Mr. Mitchum, you had asked about our increase from last year. So our increase from FY21 to this current year of FY22 went up $9 million, which was a 4% increase. So this year, going from FY22 to our proposed 23 is right at a 5% increase. The one little adjustment that I made on this slide is that our increase for the teachers and admin, I had it at $2.5 million before. Since we did have that little bit of adjustment from the county, I put in, there were some indexes that some of the admin get, so that's really a more true number, is the $2.6 million. So that makes our total additional expenditures at $11,725,150. So there's all the numbers. So we have a proposed budget for next year of $237,657,195 on the revenues, and $237,657,195 on the expenditures, which gives us a 0. We're balanced. So yay, 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 we're balanced. So this is the slide where if we wanted to put in anything additional, items currently not included, we had talked about an increase in per pupil allocations from the 5250 that hasn't changed over 10 years. We have in red, we don't know what the conference committee compromise might be. The state is still talking, they're still deliberating. We don't know if the 4,000, the 2,000, if they're going to come somewhere in the middle. We don't have that adjustment shown in our balanced budget right now, so that could change. And then if you wanted me to show anything else here with, like if we wanted to do a 3% COLA for all of our staff, it would be, for all employees, it would be $5.3 million, and then I could put the number of mills that would take, if that sounds appropriate to the board? Does anybody want to talk about that to county council?
If you want to just tell us what the millage is, so we can kind of look at it that way.
It would be, I don't have my calculator right here, but 18 mills would be $6 million.
You want me to say it?
You have it?
You want me? Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. And we can send this to you all. So the allowable increase for fiscal year '23 is 10.78. The look-back mill's 7.33, so a total allowable to request is 18.11, which is roughly $6.1 million. You want me to go down the list for the calculations for the COLA? Okay. So if we did a 1% COLA, that's 5.2 mils. Again, we have 18.11 in theory. If we did a 2% COLA, that'd be 10.40 or $3.5 million. If we did a 3% COLA, it'd be $5,250,000 or 15.6 mils. If we did a $1,000 additional pay to teachers and administration above the $1,000 that we've already budgeted, that'd be roughly $2.6 million, 7.71 mils. So the 2% COLA at 10.4 mils would fall within the allowable increase for '23.
Right, that doesn't capture the look back, but it's the current year. What does the board want me to ask for? This is your
Tina,
budget.
will you break down if we did ask for the 10.4, what that would mean? Like for,
And I can do
you know what I'm saying? For the business, no, yeah, for like the businesses, I mean, can you, the cost for
cost.
them? Yes.
Yes, and I had that. So each additional mill, we talked about that, yes, is $6 on a business because they're 6% property. So for $1,000 of your, if you have a, yes.
So the 2% then is 10.4, so that's 60, a little over $60 increase on a business.
Well, everything else has gone up.
I have that. I actually have that to present to y'all if you'd like it.
$93, 93.6 for a business for 3%.
It also depends on what their value is, what assessment they have. So if it's a business that has $400,000 assessment, then you have to multiply it times 4. This is the hard part.
Well, I'm being serious. Everything else has gone up.
I agree with that, Brian.
What we were talking about is if we did the wish list slide and included these items on the wish list side that Gail had mentioned earlier.
Okay.
You know,
so add that
after we've
slide.
presented that, but wait, this is,
So right after this, I'll have another slide that shows those items that we were talking about.
I think
Okay.
so. Yeah, I think so. Just clean and
Based on
concise.
the allowable millage that we are allowed to
Just
ask.
presented as if they were so inclined
Yes.
to want to fund these initiatives, here's what we would fund, and here's the cost of that.
Maybe with a short explanation, such as Mr. Pye gave, as to
Yeah.
reason why we're looking at this is, because of we're the lowest, and all of our districts around us are higher, and we're trying to recruit and retain teachers. So,
Mr. Pye, I would love for you to start the conversation with them then at the meeting.
Is the opener
So I
and the
don't have to
close?
be the
I
bearer of
think
bad
it'd be
news.
important to include too the understanding about, make sure that they understand about the ESSER funding. Just that we can't use that money for this. And so,
We have stressed that, it's in here, it's for, one time.
well, and just also though that it can't go towards salaries or benefits. I think that's,
Not
you
to
know,
our general operating benefits.
right, we can't do it. So what we're asking for on our wish list, we really couldn't fund with, even though it seems like we have all this extra money.
Well, and Ashley, we assume everybody knows that about ESSER, that the 3 might inform, might not.
needs, yes.
Tina, is there a bullet point under ESSER about, highlighted, underscored, bold print cannot be used for personnel?
I will do that.
Okay.
Because we are using it for personnel for additional positions, such as math coaches, but we're not paying for nurses out of that. But the math coaches are for a limited time to help address the learning loss. So those are specific positions to help address learning loss. It's not for our teacher who's in a second grade class.
Those are short-term recurring spending items versus, I think if you,
Short-term temporary. How about
short-term
that?
temporary, right, versus here, the items we're talking about, a COLA increase, those are not short-term, that's forevermore.
Recurring,
And so how do we
forevermore,
fund that in the
that's right.
future is the question.
Yeah, Mr. Pye made a good point that I don't think we want to call it our wish list. I think we want to call it, it's our
Comes for
further,
consideration?
well, our further needs that we do need. And the reason why we need them is because we want to try to be competitive. So instead of calling it a wish list, it's just
Oh, yeah,
further
no.
needs.
Wish list.
Absolutely
Yeah.
not. We haven't used wish list in many years. It's
Yeah.
need.
It doesn't do us any good to do that.
It's a needs list.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. I can do that. Our major initiatives, and I did put on this bullet point about temporary funding. It's not recurring dollars right here. It'll be good to emphasize that many times, I think, during the presentation, if y'all are good with that.
Can you put, perhaps for consideration under construction of new middle school, we used impact fees, there was no tax increase on that. Would that be a fair statement? Okay.
Yeah, but I think, well, on the operating side, I don't know that you could legitimately say there's no future tax increase.
We did not incorporate that into our debt millage because we had these funds to pay for it. Well,
I'm
our
saying
GO
for future,
bonds.
for operating costs for the middle school.
Oh, yes,
At
yes,
some
yes.
point, there could potentially,
Well, we have that built in for our budget for this year is our operating cost for the new middle school. That's included.
the other thing I was going to say quickly on the ESSER funds, I do think on some level, county council will somewhat understand that mechanism because they got a lot of
I think
CARES
they've
money as
received
well.
some as well. Mhm.
And so they had the same types of issues,
I think it
personnel,
just looks bigger
non-recurring.
for us because of the allocation was so big.
Right. Yeah, but on some level, I think they will understand it. We just need to reiterate to them how that works.
Super. So we go to county council on Monday at 4 o'clock to present. And then third reading of the county's budget will be June 20th in St. George at 6 o'clock. And hopefully that'll be it. We still don't know if there will be any other adjustments from the state. I mean, we would have an opportunity for y'all to adjust our budget if we have additional funding. So then they'll ask a lot of questions. Hopefully not a lot.
Anybody have any more questions? More questions? Brian, Justin? Any comments? Okay, so we're going to do our list
Yes.
and add that to that, and I think that was pretty much all that everybody said, right? Brian, you want to
Wait.
finish up your part?
We have that meeting at 4, and we have our meeting at 6. Are we having a executive session before our meeting at 6 to make a discussion on anything? Okay.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to accept the 2022-2023 budget as presented.
Okay,
This
I have a motion to accept the 22-23 budget as presented. And actually, it comes from committee, so we don't need a second. So any other discussion? All in favor? 7-0.
Wonderful. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, if there is nothing else for the good of the district, I make a I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Mr. Guthrie. Do you have a second? Ms. Robinson, all in favor? 7-0. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great evening.